I think I can get started by welcoming everyone who's here. Welcome to this webinar of Working Group 6 of the Creative Commons Open Culture Platform. My name is Brigitte Wisna, and I'm the Director of Policy and Open Culture at Creative Commons. I'm here with Connor Benedict, who is helping us with the setting up of this webinar, and of course the members of the working group, Rebecca Kefalea, Jesse Carson, who are their two co-leads, and Sandra Soster, who also participated in creating those wonderful resources that I am very excited to learn more about. So just a few words about the platform. Creative Commons has set up an open culture platform to support and engage the community on all topics related to open culture, ranging from the use of CC licenses and tools to release cultural heritage and collections, to how to handle collections containing indigenous or traditional content. And this particular group is working group number 6. And it tasked itself with, I think, the monumental task to develop both a glossary and a bibliography of Open GLAM. And I guess one of the first concepts or terms that you will be introducing us to is probably the acronym GLAM. I think that's something that has been the topic of some conversations, Open GLAM, open culture, but I'm sure you'll give us more information over this. So I'm very, very happy to give the floor to the leads of the working group now, who will walk us through the achievements of their group over the last few months. So I will pass now the floor to Jesse Carson. Over to you.
All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Jesse Carson. I'm one of the co-leads of Working Group 6, and thank you all very much for coming. Before I get started, I'd just like to acknowledge that I'm located in the city of Vancouver, which is located in the unceded traditional territories of the Musqueam, the Squamish, and the Tsleil-Waututh people nations, who have stewarded this land since time immemorial. And before I get started, I'll say just a couple words about our schedule. I'll start us off by discussing some of the background of our working group and some details about what we've done over the course of the year. I'll give some details about the bibliography as it currently stands and do a short demo of the bibliography in Zotero. And then Sandra will walk us through the process that we've gone through to develop the glossary and do a demo of the glossary. And Rebecca will close us out with some of our lessons learned and discuss some of our future directions. So a few words about our working group. The impetus for the project came from some observations that some people in our group had made about sort of the growth both of the Open GLAM movement and of the Creative Commons global network. They're expanding both in scope and in numbers, and I think maybe many of us have noticed that as the movement grows, it's encompassed more and more disciplines and more fields, brought in more people from many backgrounds, academic, non-academic, educational, all kinds, and that has been accompanied by a growth in literature and sources. And of course, not just academic literature, but blog posts, web articles, all tools, all sorts of different things have been sort of proliferating as the community has grown. So as the literature grows, we started to think that it would be useful to develop a bibliography for the community. So that would be a tool that gathers all of these various resources together in one place and makes them searchable, discoverable, and relates them to each other. And that's obviously a tool that could be useful for students, for educators, researchers, professionals working in the field, and basically anyone who's interested in learning more about Open GLAM. And then born out of that idea was also the idea of a glossary, which serves a similar purpose, but instead of for resources, for terms and concepts that relate to GLAM. Just a few things about our working group. We ran, like I think all the other groups did, from January to December of this last year. We had initially around 10 members. Over the course of the year, we've had about 16 people come in and out. Of course, as things do, it's sort of fluctuated over time as, you know, people's lives get in the way and everyone has different responsibilities. So over the course of the year, we had 11 meetings. There was fewer over the summer, and I would say probably many more in the fall as we sort of closed in on some of our deadlines and had to get our things in gear for the end of the year. And like the other groups, we were allocated $1,500 by Creative Commons, which we elected to use to hire Sandra, our excellent bibliography and glossary coordinator. So from initial meetings and discussions, we sort of, as I mentioned, we hit on two key goals, so two key outcomes for the working group, which was the creation of a bibliography of open culture and GLAM resources, with the main goal being discoverability, and the creation of the multilingual glossary on open GLAM and culture. And with the glossary, the intention was not just to gather generic definitions for terms, but to gather definitions that are specific to the open GLAM context. So for something like audience, the definition would not be something like people watching a show. It would be, what does an audience mean in the context of galleries, libraries, archives, and museums? We wanted both to be community tools, which for us meant a number of things. First, that they be collaborative and they be participatory. So we wanted to invite input from people across the community to, you know, take full advantage of the breadth of backgrounds that Creative Commons has. We wanted them to be iterative, which means that they're not static, they're not one and done static projects. They're both tools that are ongoing and evolving in recognition of the fact that Open GLAM, Creative Commons, and all of us are evolving every day as well. And we wanted them to be shareable. So we wanted people to both be aware of them and to make use of them, of course. We wanted them to be folksonomic, and we wanted them to be sustainable. And for us, sustainability meant that they weren't going to be something that was too complex or too esoteric. We didn't want people to need a PhD to figure out what was going on with these tools. We wanted it to be something that was accessible to everybody. And so a part of that was that we put more time and spent more effort on determining process and determining procedures for how both the resources would be created and maintained, and less time on actually gathering resources, with the assumption that that would come after the tools have been established and are become known to the community. So like I said, I'll say a few words about the bibliography specifically. After some group discussions and after a presentation from Jordan Habib, who's a librarian at Athabasca University, who's a bit of a Zotero expert, she's used it for many collaborative projects, we ultimately decided on using the Zotero citation management software as our tool for the bibliography. This was chosen for a number of reasons. First, it's an open source tool, which means that it has an active community, a community that's constantly developing plugins and new tools for it, which means it can be applied to a wide variety of contexts, and there's no licensing or there's no restrictions on making use of it. And that there's also an excellent online community that provides support for people in troubleshooting if you're having any issues. Zotero is also collaborative, which of course was a key goal for our project. Zotero, in addition to letting you make a individual bibliography or library, it also lets you create group libraries, which is the tool that we decided to use for our bibliography. And finally, and Zotero is integrated, which it can operate in a variety of web browsers. It's integrated with tools like Microsoft Office and LibreOffice. So if you've got Zotero running and you're doing something in Microsoft Office, with 1 or 2 clicks, you can bring citations in. So it's a tool that really attempts to integrate itself with other things that people use frequently, which is important for something that we want people in the community to actually make use of. And it's also integrated with heritage tools, like I'm sure many of us are familiar with Omeka. There's a Zotero plugin that integrates it with Omeka as well. And finally, some of the more senior or long-term Creative Commons members early on in our group made it clear that Zotero is a tool that's familiar to the GLAM community. So we didn't want to force people or introduce some new tool when there's something that the community is already familiar with right there available for us to use. So after deciding on Zotero, some of the sort of key features that we pulled out that we sort of built our process around, one of which was the Zotero connector, which is a browser extension, and it works in Chrome. It does not work in Firefox. I don't think it's available for Firefox, but it's a very simple way of adding resources to a bibliography. So if you're on a web page that's got an article that is relevant to the bibliography, it's as simple as 1 or 2 clicks, and the metadata from the article is brought into the bibliography and populates it, making it much easier to add resources than some of the more some other citation management software that I won't name. And then the other feature that I already mentioned is that Zotero has group libraries. The way that we've structured our group library, which is our bibliography, is that it's accessible to anybody. So whether or not you have a Zotero account, you can open up the bibliography and you can take a look at all the resources that we've added and see how they've been organized and search them. But only people who are members of the library can edit. And this was a decision we made based on advice from Jordan, who said, you know, all it takes is one, if you leave it completely open to editing, all it takes is one bot or one person to come in and mess around with your bibliography, and all of a sudden a whole bunch of work goes out the window. And the other decision that we made is that with the bibliography, there's no, Zotero offers the ability to upload PDFs. So for example, journal articles, you could upload a PDF of an article into the bibliography and make it accessible right there. But we've set the library in such a way that that's not an option, in recognition of the fact that there might be copyright issues, and we don't want people to start throwing in things that might be violating intellectual property. And finally, Zotero has community tagging, which was another key feature that we sort of built our processes around. After discussions with Jordan, we determined that user-generated tags would be a useful way to impose order on the bibliography. So this goes back to the idea that it's a community-constructed resource, where when somebody adds a resource based on their understanding of the resource and their understanding of Creative Commons and its needs, they can assign tags that are also assigned to other related resources to sort of facilitate discoverability. And we spent a lot of our time that we spent on developing processes was Sandra did a lot of work going through and sort of cleaning up the tags that we had and imposing a bit of order and a bit of logic to them. And I'll do a quick demonstration of Zotero and show you some of those features. Is there any, while I'm opening this up, does anybody have any immediate questions? There's a sort of a lot of information very quickly.
And feel free to type your questions in the chat if you prefer to do so. And as I understand, there will be a Q&A at the end of the session. So if you prefer to save them for the end, that's also fine.
Apologies, that's not what I want to share. So this is a view of Zotero in Google Chrome. So it's also, there's also a desktop app, but we mostly did our work in the browser app in recognition that, or in the browser in recognition that this is how most people access and use Zotero. So you can see we've currently got 313 items in the bibliography. Each individual item has quite rich metadata, and all of that metadata can be used to sort and filter. So for example, we can order things by year. If we so choose, we can order them by publisher, creator. There's a basic search bar that lets you look up basic terminology that appears in titles. And then we've got the tags, which if you down on the left here, this is every single tag that exists in the bibliography. And it's just as simple as clicking on a tag to bring up all the resources that have that tag assigned to it. So one of the things that we did is to go through and assign all resources a tag that reflects either the language or the region that it comes from, or both, depending on the resource. So that's all these ones in here that are all caps. We also added a tag for Creative Commons licenses. But I think to show you that, I have to unclick this. There we go. So currently, I think there's only 1 or 2 resources assigned to this tag, but the thought behind this is that as this gets populated by more resources, if we tag each one with the type of license that is assigned to it, that'll make it easier to find things that are compatible and things with us with a particular license that we may need. And then in addition to those 2, there's the broad subject tags, things like cultural heritage, digital heritage, and all that good stuff. And those are ones that we sort of picked out based on what the current contents are, but the thought would be that as more resources are added, more subjects will be added, and things of related subject will become connected and easier to discover. For sharing the bibliography, it's quite an easy process. It's as simple as, oh, and of course the button doesn't want to work. You can export the bibliography in any of these formats. So CSV is one that's familiar and of particular use, but there's also RIS and Zotero RDF, which are formats that someone could export the bibliography and then import a copy of it into their own personal Zotero account. And then they have their own copy of the bibliography that they can go in, delete things, move things around, change tags, do whatever they want, because it's separate from our master bibliography that we maintain. It's still, as I said, there's 300 odd resources in here, so it's still relatively sparse, but our emphasis has been on procedures. So we basically got a good chunk of resources in here and then just started playing around with them and thinking about process. And so we put more emphasis on that than continuing to populate resources. Moving forward, the goal is going to be promoting the bibliography. We've got an open call that we've drafted that includes instructions and guidelines on how to add materials and how to make use of Zotero. So we're hoping that once that gets out there and people become more familiar with it, that will encourage people to contribute more. And as one final note, if we go to the Zotero website, even if you don't have an account and you're not logged in, if you go to groups, you can search for groups, and we've set ourselves to be, let's see if I can remember what I need to type to find us. But basically, this is accessible to anybody, whether or not they have an account. And you can find us, I think, yes, there we are. And you can access and view the library. You can't make any edits, but the bibliography is there and available for anybody, whether or not you have an Zotero account, whether or not they're part of Creative Commons, whether we know they exist, it doesn't matter. It's there for anybody who would like to view it. But of course, they can't edit unless they get permission from us. And I think that is that is all for me. So I'm going to pass it over to Sandra, who's going to talk about our glossary.
Thanks, Jesse. I also would like to add the information that within Zotero, we created a one only tag for the type of the items. It refers to audiovisual resources, thinking about people accessibility, people who have low vision or something like this. The other, all the resources in the bibliography have their own item type in a column, as Jesse showed us. So about Zotero, about glossary, we the community decided to create it on MetaWiki. Then so do you see my screen? Is it okay? Okay. So We created in MetaWiki because it extended all the criteria, as Jesse said. Accessibility is really open. Anyone can edit and give some contribution. So the idea in with the glossary is also to add the explanations of the tags of Zotero as terms in the glossary. So we may, thanks, Nicola. So we may gather the information from one platform to another. And we also want the community to help to understand how the terms in the field of GLAM are reflected in the articles in Wikipedia. So probably we will have some guidelines to maybe add a subtitle in the article and explain the idea of the term in the Wikipedia article. And to this first glossary, we took the terms from three glossaries, one created by Andrea Wallacey, another from Europeana, which have really specific terms, and a dictionary of archives terminology by the Society of American Archivists. And all of these resources are shown here in the subpage introduction. You may see them or no. And then the main page of glossary is the first letter, A, and we created three columns, the term with an emoji and the description of the term. And we may add some different information, the link to an Wikidata item. So we may click here and see more metadata about it and edit in Wikidata also. So references from the description we have here, and some visualization in other platforms as Tabernacle here. And the big column here is one with the articles from Wikipedia in other languages. And these links come from the Wikidata term here, Wikidata item, sorry, that we have here in the end of the page, all the languages. The community, the wiki community, suggested trying to do this more automatically, the organization of the links from the languages. So we will keep improving all the process along the years. And this is the really an advantage of working in collaborative environment. Every person gives some ideas and help with something. The person who helped us with the translation tool, this one here, is a French one, and he or she started translating this page. So you may see here that 64% are translated to French. If we click here, we have the translation here. So back to English. Then to edit in any Wikimedia platform, you need an account. And to create this account is really easy. you only need to go to the main page of Wikipedia and let me see if we here create an account in Portuguese because I'm from Brazil, but you have just choose a name or a nickname, password, confirm your password, and this is not obligatory, but we really recommend you to give an email. So if you forget your password, you can recover it. So here, then we have a page how to edit, and we will also have another page in early in the next year, the beginning of the next year, with how to translate, because we got the translation tool maybe 3 days ago. The community must approve the structure of the glossary before giving us this permission. So let me show you how to add a term. Here we have how to edit. We have two main forms of contributing to it. We have one form that is changing an existing term. So go to edit here, open here, edit, and you may see that the edition here is in coding. But if you add here in the slug between end and action the letters V, E from visual edition, you got this, and it's easier to people who have no is not get used with coding. So you double click the term and it opens a table, and you complete things here. Here we have the definition, Wikidata. We didn't add the Wikidata link here because the definition in this Wikidata item is not proper to GLAM field. So the idea is to create another Wikidata to have this the right definition. And then these four existing items, so you can just double click and edit. And to create a new term, sorry, but it's it only can be done by code, but it's not so difficult. You have here the main coding terms, so copy here, and I will add the term Zotero. So edit, where are you? So let's take me the. So don't forget, we need to add the, the terms in alphabetical order. So here, I'm adding Zotero images. Wikimedia platform just accept images from open licenses, so we need to look for an image here in Wikimedia Commons, so Zotero. I know I have a beautiful one here, so I copy the name, the title of this image, and I paste here. Definition. As we have open information here, I will take from Wikipedia in English. So Zotero is a free and open source reference manager software. and I put here. We are not using the information of how to spell the term, and we use the term in bold. We may do here, and the reference, I have Wikipedia. I select the term, copy the link, and here we have a chain that I just go to this. Let me see, we may, no. Yeah, so insert the link. And in this specific field of Wikipedia, I really will be giving support to the community to add all the languages, because it's a really difficult process. But it's really important to the glossary. I don't know. Okay. Zotero in Wikidata, because we need to add this information. So the letter Q and the numbers, we add it here to Wikidata, and I will bring at least one term here to the language. So Zotero. So we have the term Zotero, link, and the, no, not here. Let me see. Let's go to, every time you have trouble with adding some information, the good idea is to edit a page and take an example from here. So let me take one from English here. Accessibility. So I copy and I really do the changes. And here. So I can show the preview is the good thing to do before publishing it. So I can here try the links and see if everything is going well. And here you can see the link that the Wikidata item I add here brings all this information together. So I think it's okay. I just need to take off this, oops. But I don't see it here. So, okay, let's publish. And then we can create some information. We can add the information here to the link to our library in the Zotero, so people who see the glossary also can interact with the bibliography. And now I think it's all. So I think now it's up to you, Rebecca, and I will keep showing the slides here. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. As mentioned earlier, our main concern from the beginning of our work was the sustainability of both projects and the future continuation of both the bibliography and the glossary. And this concern affected the decisions we made for both the publishing platforms, but also the fact that we focused on establishing processes for the continuous enrichment of both projects and not so much on the content. So in both the bibliography and the glossary, you will find important content that is missing, and also mistakes in metadata, and Bukol already spotted one. So this is why we didn't extract and present you any data of what we have collected so far, because that would be misleading. But this is something to do, to add in a future to-do list, I suppose. Also, we focused on resources, tags, and terms in English, because that we did it for practical reasons. Jesse is located in Canada, Sandra is located in Brazil, I'm located in Athens, and other group members are from other parts of the world. So we needed to establish a shared foundation of Open GLAM resources. We are aware that this has led to an over-representation of global North and English-speaking initiatives and projects, and we are aware that this is an imbalance that can have a negative impact in the Open GLAM movement and beyond. This is why we want to stress the need for both projects to become more multivocal and more inclusive. And this is our ambition for the future. And this is why we have openly licensed both projects and the supporting documentation, which we will publish quite soon. We really look forward to receiving your feedback, and I have shared a link to a document which you can comment. For us, it is very important. We think that it would be beneficial for the community for both projects to be maintained and continue being enriched, but we have identified some challenges. We also faced them during our work. Sandra, can we pass to the next slide? Some of the challenges we have identified and faced during the course of our work is engaging the community and encouraging collaboration to ensure inclusion of smaller communities, institutions, and countries, to ensure that the bibliography and the glossary will stay organized, understandable, and up to date, and also to address confusion around similar projects and initiatives that exist in the Open GLAM movement. This is very good that we have so many projects and initiatives, but sometimes there is confusion. Some of the potential solutions we thought of is to publish open calls for contributions and organizing community events for the continuous enrichment of both the bibliography and the glossary, along with curating both projects from time to time. And also another idea we have is to launch a survey to gain insights from the CC Open community and beyond. For example, what are the needs of the community from a bibliography and a glossary around Open GLAM? What other tools does the community like and use, and how can use these tools either to enrich both projects or to gain insights from the data we have. We hope that we laid a good groundwork for the future, but we look forward to receiving your comments and feedback to fine-tune the processes. So thank you so much for being here, and the floor is all yours.
I think we can do a virtual round of applause for everything that you've accomplished. So congratulations. It's really amazing that you were able to come up with these huge contributions in such a short span of time. It's really incredible. So congratulations from me and from, I see everyone in the room. So the work continues, right? This is part of an ongoing process. I understand that you're looking to have several rounds for people to contribute. Does anyone have any questions for our working group team? Or are there any members of your groups that are here in the room that would like to add anything? Ellen?
Hi, I think it's wonderful work. I love Zotero. I was just wondering if we want to contribute, how do you do this in practice? You will just organize rounds of input we can give, and do you need a specific bibliographic format, or how do you see this working in practice? Or can we like add directly, or?
So we've got an open call. So in addition to the events that Rebecca was talking about, we'll also just have a constant, basically if anyone contacts us, we can add them as a member to the bibliography, because only someone with member powers can edit. But it's as simple as adding the person as a member, and then we'll share sort of our open call and our procedures, which have some information about what we want to see with tagging. I think, yeah, Rebecca just linked it in the chat, and then people are welcome to go to town. It's as simple as that.
Okay. So it's not that you have a validation process.
No.
Okay.
You just need like that one little barrier to stop, bots and some malicious hacker or whatever coming in and deleting everything, right? That's all.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
I had one question, and please don't hesitate to come up with questions in the chat too. But you said that you started with three main sources for the glossary. So Andrew Wall's glossary, the one from Europeana, and the one from the American Society of Archivists. Do you plan on adding more sources? And I guess my question is, when you found two definitions for the same term in various sources, how did you decide which one to include? And did you have to ever make any decisions to exclude some terms because you didn't feel like the definition that you found reflected your understanding of the terms?
In case of the same term in different glossaries, we gather the information and we can add multiple references. So we try to organize it, and we are really happy when this occurs because it feels an important term to be added to the glossary.
If I may add something here, well, the idea is not to select the most correct, let's say, definition of a term, but to somehow combine different definitions and also refer to the sources where these definitions can be found. The idea, the ambition is to make definitions more multivocal and more inclusive, coming from different contexts, but not to impose a correct one. These are working definitions in the movement, and they are dynamic and constantly changing.
I don't see anyone wanting to ask a question at this stage. So does that mean that we have come to the conclusion of the webinar? Oh, Connor has one. What did you enjoy the most?
You mean the bibliography or the glossary?
I don't know what Connor meant, doing the work together and getting to this result as a working group. So yeah, in the collaborative process, what is it that you enjoyed the most?
I think we enjoyed the jet lag because we are in different time zones. And personally, for me, the most impressive thing is that when we started, most of us weren't familiar either with Zotero or MetaWiki, and we had to learn from each other and by doing. And the fact that we weren't familiar too much with the publishing platforms helped us write very detailed guidelines so that anyone who knows nothing can participate in these. Also to find ways so that the two projects can work as sister projects. This was also very challenging, but also very enjoyable because I think we managed to figure it out in the end.
And I'll just add to that, I think trying to think about tools like this in their like collaborative potential. Prior to this, I'd only ever used Zotero for my own individual purposes, and I won't publicly share what my bibliographies look like because they're chaos. But thinking about designing something that needs to be accessible and widespread was a very different way to think for me, at least, which was enjoyable.
Yeah, I really enjoyed gathering bibliography from all around the world, trying to find some resources from each country to add to Zotero. It's amazing to think how internet give us this power to gather information from all the countries in one place and getting this to everyone we are working with. Yeah.
Well, we can certainly sense that there was a great cohesion within your group, and that I think that you you really enjoyed working together on this. And I think the result is also there to show how this group effort was enjoyable throughout. So I guess the next question is, what did you enjoy least? Or was there one big challenge that you want to share? Something that you didn't foresee that arrived maybe in the course of your work that you had to overcome?
Can't think of something that I didn't enjoy.
Nothing immediately comes to mind for me. Getting up early for some of the meetings, maybe. That's about it.
Goes back to the time zone issue, yeah. Okay, well, congratulations once again. This, I think, is a huge milestone, but as I understand, there's more down the road. It's going to be a continuous journey, and Creative Commons is happy to support this working group. We're really happy to use all our channels for all your calls for contributions, collaboration. And so looking forward to see where that will travel in the next few months. And with this, I think we will bring the webinar to a close. Thank you very much to our three presenters and to all our participants. And we'll see you, some of you, tomorrow at our Open Culture call. And if not, I hope everyone gets to enjoy a nice break in the next few weeks. Thank you very much for joining, and see you soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks for coming, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.